Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So it's been a while since I've last made a video because I was back to my parents for Easter in France, and then there were family and friends coming all over the place, so didn't really have the time to sit down and make a video. But in the meantime, I've done the 100 head challenge. So I've done this in my sketchbook. I've not filmed it, but I will probably post it on Instagram once it's all done. I'm like at the 80th head, something like that. So I have maybe 85 actually. So I have like 15 left to go. And it was such a nice challenge, and I will also speak about it when I do a sketchbook tour because I'm almost at the end of my sketchbook. So stay tuned for that. And today I thought I will just come back to what I really like doing, which is watercolor. And when I was with my parents, because they came to my place in Austria actually, I saw a very beautiful landscape. It was in the city, so it's a cityscape, or landscape. And it's behind a museum called the Albertina, where you have this greenhouse, which is actually a cafe now, and this beautiful park, and you have some old buildings behind. You have a tower of a church also, so it's really beautiful, and a lot of different type of buildings. And I thought it would be nice to try to recreate this here. And if it doesn't turn out like I want it, I also have another one with a small pond and a beautiful tree going into the pond. So I really like these two cityscapes, and I just want to try to recreate them. Maybe not both of them, but at least one of them with watercolors. And I thought today I will do some line work and then go with the color afterwards. Usually I keep that for when I'm doing on-site watercolors, but I thought why not trying to do this in my regular sketchbook. So I'm gonna start to trace out the different buildings, trying to get the perspective not too bad. Okay, covering a mistake here. So as you can see, I'm not doing like one building then another one. I'm just trying to see wherever there are some lines that intersect, and it helps me to make sure that my proportions are not too off, and also that I don't have my background coming over my foreground or the other way around, to have everything more or less in place. As I'm not really good with perspective, it helps me a little bit to have a better looking perspective than if I only did one building than the other. I just take it one line at a time, trying to see where the line connects with other lines and which space there is between the different lines. Usually it's not perfect in the end because I'm still very much in the learning process here. I really have a hard time having the proportions right and having everything going where it's supposed to be, but it's a way to get better at this. And I don't put too much details with this first. I'm using a 0.5 here, and I will try to put more details afterwards using my 0.1 and of course with the watercolor itself. So as you can see, my horizon line is pointing up and not really horizontal, but I guess it's not that much of a problem. I hope so, at least. I'm really having a hard time keeping this line straight. It's getting up and up and up more and more. Okay, so I'm not going to do this part that much, I think, because there is a tree somewhere here. coming more or less like that. So I'm going to focus more on the tree and not put all the buildings behind it. And just switch to a larger fine liner to do that. Okay, so everything is a bit not exactly in the right direction, but we have more or less the idea of what is happening here. Okay, so now we'll switch to the larger one, the 0.7, to make some of these lines bolder and to add, like, not details but definitions here and there. I'm just gonna add some people who are playing. It was really a beautiful day, so there were people just playing with the ball. It really added to the scene, I feel. So I'm just gonna add some of them here. When I'm doing some drawings with watercolor and ink and fine liners, I really like to have the fine liner quite crowded, actually, to already put some cross hatching, some texture with the fine liner, and then just put some washes of watercolor on top. It's not doing all the job with the watercolor, but actually doing most of the job with the liners themselves first. I think it makes a really cool effect. Here I'm adding some textures to the walls and all with my fine liner. So going more into the details this time. Adding some of the lines. And this really fine one is really nice just to add all these little lines and little details that make the whole thing more interesting and more intricate. Okay, so here is the piece in black and white. And now I'm just gonna add some colors on top of this. I hope I'm not gonna ruin it with some colors. So I'm gonna start with the sky. Actually, I need to grab some fresh water. Be right back. So I'm back with some clean water, and I'll start with the sky, just wetting all my paper. So it was a really cloud and sun day, you know, so sometimes you were like, it was so hot and you were like, okay, I need to take my jacket off and to really enjoy the summer coming. And sometimes it was like super cold with some wind and some, yeah, bad weather. So that's why also I didn't do it on site, and didn't have time and I didn't have the motivation to get cold. So I'm just gonna put a bunch of gray and blue to show this really the weather for this day, and I think it really added to the scene to have this like really brilliant blue sky on one side and really gray sky on the other. I don't know if you noticed, but I tried different blue for the sky because depending on where you're where you are living, the blue of the sky can be quite different actually, more or less vibrant. And now I'm adding a little shadows to those clouds to make them look a little more 3D and to have a less flat sky. So okay, that's it for the sky for now. And I don't want to go over everything with colors. So now we'll just put on the grass because I think it's an important part of this thing. I think I did my little people here, they're a bit too small, because when I look back at my picture, the head actually goes over here, and here there are small people playing in the foreground. That's weird. They were not child actually, they were like young adults. But here they look more like little childs, but that's okay. And even for a child, like tiny little childs. I'm trying to put more vibrant colors in the foreground to push the background in the background and to have the foreground more in the foreground, and have also more different colors in the foreground compared to the background, so that you have kind of more details and more contrast in the foreground compared to the background. Okay, that's it for that. Now I'm gonna move to a smaller brush, and I think I'm not gonna touch the buildings because I like them like that. Maybe just add a little bit of gray around the windows, like a mix of blue and gray to show that it's glass and it actually reflects what is around. The upper part is more blue and the lower part is more gray because it doesn't have direct lighting. Like here it's more gray because it's above the dark sky, but here the sky is a bit lighter, so the windows will be a little bit lighter too. Yes, like that. That's pretty nice. So now I'm gonna add a little bit of shadows here and there. So I will use an even smaller brush and go again in some of these places where I put some color, but add a little bit of shadow. And now I just want, the last thing is to add some foliage to the tree. So I'm gonna start with a light green and just dab my brush like so, with a lot of water, and just adding some nice young green foliage because it's spring, so foliage has just come back, and it's nice to add this touch of bright green in this watercolor. And I'm just putting some straight up sap green. I really like sap green. And here I really want the tree to pop compared to the rest of the watercolor, so I'm gonna leave it like straight white with just some dabs of watercolor for the foliage. Okay, and now I'm gonna go with some slightly darker green, just to add a little bit of shadows and make it more 3D in a way, and showing more the shape of the foliage, but not putting too much of this darker green because I really want to keep this like bright new green. Okay, so here it is. Here's my quick watercolor ink an ink sketch of this nice place I've been to. Just gonna sign it. And here it is. So again, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And don't hesitate to tell me in the comments what you'd like to see next. And until then, thank you for watching and have a nice rest of your day. Bye!